everyone. Welcome into AZ Audibles. I'm Claudia, Faust, and I'm joined by two of my favorite guys on the Sport 360 AZ team. Sorry, Brad. I've got Jordan Spurgeon and Zach Elvira here with me today, and we're talking about some week one upsets. And fortunately, Zach and I happen to be at the same game that was an upset, but kind of one that Zach saw coming because he'd been telling me, I don't know, I think Mountain Point's going to give Corona del Sol a run for their money. And they sure did. The final score was 34-33 in favor of Mountain Point.
I think Mountain Point's defense, honestly, just stepped up to the plate. It's funny because I was talking to Coach Lauer after the game, and I even mentioned that. And he said that defense, which is actually a pretty young group. I mean, they have a freshman defensive tackle starting. He said that they kind of came of age in that game. They grew up a little bit. So, the biggest thing for them was finding their identity as a blue collar program, just basically the Mountain Point of old. That's what he really wanted to get them back to. And he believes that with that win over Corona, they were able to kind of do that, which, is pretty cool to see teams that have struggled in years past get a big win like that, especially over a team like Corona, who is just 1 year removed from the Open Division.
And not to forget, Mountain Point won one game last season against the other Ahwatukee team that didn't win any. So you just kind of expected Corona del Sol to take the game, but all credit to Connor Ackerley. For a first game as a sophomore starting as a quarterback, really impressive outing. I'm excited to see what both teams do throughout the season. But Jordan, you were at another game that was an upset. So tell me about that one.
Yeah, a real rivalry was born up in Scottsdale. Pinnacle Horizon. They've kind of been going back and forth mentally for years, but Pinnacle has owned that rivalry. Horizon and never beaten them in program history. And with new head coach Andy Lighton, they've changed the culture a little bit. He comes over after being a head coach at Marana and then an offensive coordinator over there at Hamilton. And his very first game, they beat Pinnacle 17-16. It was an exciting game and one that honestly I didn't see coming. A lot of people were telling me before, kind of the talk of the town in Scottsdale was Horizon was close, but Pinnacle still should have been a little bit better. They've got a guy, one of the best players in the state, Deuce Robinson, who is usually unstoppable. And that's why they won the game. Horizon was able to shut down Deuce Robinson. Really, the only two plays I remember were 2-point conversions that he caught in the end zone, because you get that close to the goal line, you can just toss it up to him. He's going to make a play regardless. They were very dialed in on playing Pinnacle and finally getting a notch in the W column in that rivalry. And they were able to do so. And so they've got some guys on that team that are just scrappy. They play hard. There wasn't a ton of size that I saw with Horizon that made me say, wow, this team is going to go really far. But despite that, they just have an edge about them that's different.
All right, so there's one more week one upset that we want to talk about. Zach and I have just been on the same page today, so I'm going to let him pick this one up, and I'll kind of give a tidbit here or there.
So that Queen Creek game against Chaparral, I honestly did not expect the outcome. Queen Creek actually ended up winning that game 33-21 over the Firebirds. And that's a team that everyone has kind of picked to be either returning to the 6A championship or in the Open Division conversation. But shout out to Queen Creek. They lost their head coach in Joe Germain. Travis Sherman took over. Now, he was the head coach before of that program. The two kind of switched off a few years there. But, so they're obviously very in tune with him. They know what he expects of them. So as far as the transition process, I guess that shouldn't really have been, a surprise for them to still be the Queen Creek team that we all know. But they also lost Devin Brown at quarterback. And if anyone's been paying attention to what he's been doing up at Corner Canyon in Utah, it's, for lack of a better word, it's kind of ridiculous because he has been going crazy up there. But, shout out to that Queen Creek team. They came to play Friday night. They knocked off a very tough Chaparral squad that returned Brayton Silber at quarterback. They've got Anthony Lucas, which we all know is probably one of the best players in the state easily, or in the country, I should say even. And that Queen Creek team came into play. So that's not a team that anyone can overlook anymore, I don't think. I think they're going to be one of those teams at the very end that's in conversation maybe for the Open Division, but at the very least, at least in the 6A playoffs for sure.
Quarterback Sebastian Tomlin kind of proved he was the guy for the job there. Peyton Barlow was huge in that game. He ran for 175 yards with a touchdown, and he caught a touchdown pass. Obviously, everything worked out in favor of the Bulldogs, but it was kind of, right at the end of the first half, there was a big interception by Ethan Wilson. And I think that just set the tone for the game. I kind of followed along on Twitter. And yeah, it was a surprising upset there, but we love to see it. Kind of like to root for the underdog sometimes. Not rooting for anyone, but it's always fun when you get an upset that early on in week one. For more AZ Audibles, you can head to sports360az.com.